We have talked about developing our speeches, and we would like to think of speeches as having three parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. And because we are looking at it that way, it's easier for us to approach it. And we can even approach difficulties or challenges we face when crafting our speech. My focus is on minding our speech from the beginning to the end. I therefore intend to offer 9 sessions. Right now, we are into the number 6 session. In the first 3 sessions, I address the way to start, to address the body, as well as to end a speech. I talk about using personal stories as a way to lead us in, as a way to combat the nervousness that we are very likely to face, that forgetfulness, that lack of linkages and connection, that fear of people not responding to our speech. So could there be a remedy? Yes, I offered personal stories to start the speech, to develop the body of the speech, as well as to end the speech. That took 3 times half hours. In the previous session yesterday and in the earlier session on Wednesday, I moved into another technique that we can consider using, and that has been questions. Using questions to start a speech, using questions to develop the body of the speech. And right now, we want to talk about using questions to end the speech. And once we're done with it, we are in the home stretch. Come Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, 3 days from now, this coming Saturday and this coming Sunday, we're going to have the final 3 sessions. These 3 sessions are all half an hour. And in each of these half an hour, we shall address the opening, the body, and the end of a speech. Yeah. But other than personal stories, other than questions, what else can we do? We can deploy emotions. Yes, emotions. So I will talk more about that when it comes. At least now you know the 9 sessions we have online, how we are going to deploy ourselves and our time. All for the purpose of doing 5 things with our audience, invariably, one after another. We want to get our audience attentive, at least pay attention that we're talking. We have something to offer them. That stands for A, AITDA. A for attention, I for interest. From attention comes interest. Now that I'm paying attention, there's a chance that I get interested because this is interesting. So you get interested. And we don't stop there. We then move on from interest to trust. T is for trust. AITDA, T for trust. Why is trust important? That is the key linkage to make interest not just skin deep, but something that goes deeper. Trust goes deeper. It is an expression of our authority, expertise. The reasons for people to believe us, it's not just attention, it's not just interest, it goes into trust. And once we have built the foundations of trust, we can then more confidently bring about a desire in people. And of course, we are talking about positive things like discovering the better version of themselves, just as we are as we craft our speech, to discover a better version of ourselves as speakers, communicators, and leaders. Now, with desire, it must culminate in something very tangible, and that's action. AITD, D for desire, and A for action. What is that action? The action could be as simple as raise your hand. Could be as simple as sign up for a course, to buy something useful for the home, to contribute something for the needy, to weep with you, or to resolve to change our habits, or to create new ones, if narrows, all for the betterment. So AITDA together is something that we work on in every of our speeches, especially with prepared speeches. So welcome again to the number 6 session of a half hourly on prepared speeches. Also, I'll read something that I have found. I have found about concluding questions. Everything that starts has to move on to a middle and finally end. Like all good things, it comes to an end. Well, strange things come to an end anyway. So whatever things that is, it has a start and an end. And particularly our speeches. By Toastmasters International Standards, we usually define time-wise a international speech as between 5 to 7 minutes. I think it's familiar with some of you. But in TED Talks, the average is about 18 minutes. And maybe in a workshop that you conduct, it goes into 20 minutes, half an hour. Really, how long it is, it doesn't matter. How short it is, it doesn't matter. What it matters is we conform to the time because it's within which time constraints that we can exercise our magic and freedom. And that's what makes it great. In the context and under the constraints of time. The concluding questions or concluding a speech with questions, why would it be useful? Because it helps us and the audience end on an intriguing note, a note that they want to continue with you. They look forward to your next speech. Isn't it great? Just like of late, even now, we celebrate Chinese New Year. Many of us do not meet our friends or relatives for the rest of the year except during Chinese New Year. And when we get together, we're all so familiar again. We have so many things to talk about. And when it's time to say goodbye, we felt we could go on for hours further, but we had to go. So it's that kind of pining for more. How about your audience pining for more? Hope you will continue speaking or looking forward to your next speech. Do you want to do that? Yes. Can questions help it? Yes. Questions can help it. What kind of questions and how can they do that? We talk about provocative questions. These are the questions that challenge assumptions. They force you, the audience, to confront uncomfortable truths. So it challenges conventions, often deal with moral dilemmas or societal problems. For example, how long will we tolerate this injustice? A question like that. How long shall we tolerate this injustice? Sound like no any longer. You will recall yesterday, I cited the 1851 speech by Sojourner Truth, a Black lady who sought to advance the rights of Black women. And in her famous speech, Ain't I a Woman? She repeatedly pumped, Ain't I a woman? Rhetorical questions like that. Ain't I a woman? Ain't I a woman? Into the middle of her speech. That was that great example that I could find. I'm glad I found it. And today, we have something else. But nevertheless, we want the ending to be provocative because it leaves the audience with something, and that's the takeaway. That's the value of the speech. On the parting shot, that's matter. Because psychologically speaking, recency effect means that people may forget things that are a bit further off, but things which are more recent. What is more recent? The beginning of the speech, the middle, or the end? Now, based on time, it will be the end. So do not slacken in the end. Questions that are reflective. These questions, they encourage introspection. They prompt personal examination. They make the audience consider their own values, beliefs, and actions. A question should go like this. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? Yeah, ask. And there are the other type of questions which unify people. It is a rallying people to come together, of course, to do something. It prompts action. These are unifying questions, foster a sense of shared identity and purpose. They can be used to rally support for a cause or create a sense of collective responsibility. The question can go like this. Are we ready to rise to the challenge? Are we ready to rise to the challenge? Of course, there are more, and let me continue. Questions that spells hope. How about that? They offer a vision of a better future and inspire optimism. This can be used to motivate and encourage action. A question can be like, can we build a more just world? Is there a silver lining at the far end of the sky? Just last week, I had a long Zoom session with the members of a service that is being rendered online. The people are quite distraught by recent changes. And my job was to explain to them the reason for happening and what is in store for them. And I encourage them to thrive on hope that in time to come, a year, 2 years, even 3 years, that they will stand to be revered by the people that comes after, revering them as the pioneering force in this particular project. Will this work for them? I hope. But at least there is an attempt, yes, to drive hope. And of course, there are questions. Common ones we have talked about very often are rhetorical questions. These are not really questions. These are more like statements in itself. Though presented as a questions, it answers itself. There is only one answer. They don't require a direct answer in that sense, but they emphasize a point. So it's more like a statement functionally. It creates a dramatic effect. Ain't I a woman? Is a rhetorical question. Is freedom not worth fighting for? Is a rhetorical question. And there are challenging questions. They directly call on the audience to take action and to make a change. Challenging. So it may not be comfortable, but they are really strong. They often demand a response, explicitly or implicitly. For example, what would you do? Would you end a speech with what would you do? So yesterday in our session, Imran, a fellow Toastmasters, was here. He shared a story. And the ending, I had recommended that he could consider ending on a question. He said, so everyone, now that I have shared with you the outcome of the contest I participated recently, do you think I will go on and participate in the next contest? Will you? See, a question like this you throw to the audience, you prompt them to give you a reply. Now, as questions go, there could be questions which are philosophical. Questions by themselves make people think, and philosophy is about thinking indeed. Now, these are the fundamental questions about usually perceived as high-level concepts like existence, meaning, purpose. They invite deeper reflection on the human condition. Give you an example of a question like this. What is the meaning of life? So there is the multi-million-dollar soul-searching questions of all time. What is the meaning of life? Of course, questions can be closed-ended, like yes or no, but they can be open-ended. So open-ended questions are very useful to make people think, because it triggers multiple interpretations and it encourages further discussion. It's not concluding anything at all, but open up the possibility of more thought. Acknowledges the complexity of the issue at hand. So there are no simple answers. How about this question? Let's consider that. What is the answer? What is the answer? Now, when someone ends a speech with what is the answer, seems to suggest that there's no one fixed answer. It implies there isn't one simple one. Unlike rhetorical question, it points towards one definite outcome, and that's what it's leading us to. Whereas an open-ended question genuinely invites us to think more. Then there are different types of questions. Another type of questions, we call them the urgent questions. Why urgent? Because there is a certain sense of urgency and immediacy. It emphasizes the need for immediate action. This will be important for pressing issues like if there's a forest fire near us, we demand immediate attention and action. We want to solve big problems. So can we afford to wait any longer? So in the context of, let's say, big forest fire, can we afford to wait any longer? No, the answer is no. So it does sound like a rhetorical question. It is one rhetorical question that asks and demands immediate attention and action. Of course, there are those that go on personal, probably more emotional and sentimental. Consider this, that directly addresses the individual members of the audience. The message is therefore more personal and more impactful because it kind of pick people up, make people feel like they're being picked up. What will you tell your children? So when you end your speech and you look intently at a certain member of the audience to represent the rest, so you just take a look at that lady on the third row, third from right, and you give her your very genuine 5 seconds, no more than that. Otherwise, become a stare, but a gaze at her. 1 second, 2 seconds, you locked eyes for the third, for the fourth, for the fifth, and you ask the questions. What will you tell your children? And you can end dramatically your speech. Now, she will be taken aback, I know. She may not be very comfortable, but the audience will feel the impact of this being vested on one person, which suggests that it is meant for everybody. So all these are examples, right? Personal questions, urgent questions, open-ended questions, philosophical questions, challenging questions, rhetorical questions, hopeful questions, unifying questions, reflective questions, and provocative questions. All these are questions. All these questions end the speech. They end the speech on an intriguing note. All of them have different functions and intentions, but all of them point towards making your speech brilliant. And on that note of making your speech brilliant and brilliant at the final second or till the final second, that's where concluding questions could help deliver the goods, because it connects to the core question. So if you really leave a question at the end of a speech, make sure it is directly related to the main theme of a speech. Again, I will draw on Ain't I a Woman? Ain't I a Woman? When you end this, you could end with members of the audience. Aren't you born by a woman? So a rhetorical question that ends and it tugs at the message, which is women's rights, Black women's rights. So in a speech like that, Ain't I a Woman? It could also end with a speech like, aren't we all born by women? Yeah. The answer is obvious, and we make people see that we connect to the core of the message. And of course, when you end on the questions, whether you do or don't do, we all want to evoke emotion. And the questions are good at that because it engages, and it's relatable to the audience. Tap the audience feelings, whether it is fear, it is hope, it is anger, or a sense of shared purpose. These are higher emotions, or these are very primal emotions. Fear, anger, greed, and so on. Now, of course, we are mindful that we want speeches to have a positive vibe and positive spin-off. So we normally do not recommend that we appeal to people's greed and fear, more to people's sense of noble purpose, higher purpose, and for the greater good. Yeah. And we want questions to help us make our speech memorable. So that question got to be concise, impactful, and easy to remember. The same goes to even if you do not use a question, you must at least be able to drive home the message and make people remember. That question, we want it to help people consider the context as well. So appropriate to the audience and the occasion. So when you are speaking to an audience, of fellow Toastmasters, we are all here to improve our skills at speaking, communicating, and leading. So when we ask a question of, would you not sign up for the next club contest? You are addressing people who are predisposed towards this topic. They are all Toastmasters members. Yeah. So likewise, when Sojourner Truth deliver Ain't I a Woman, she's speaking to Black people, white people, the people who have a stake in what's happening at that time in 1851. And of course, we are doing all this to be memorable, to leave a lasting impression, a positive one, a useful one, a powerful one. So it should prompt the audience to continue thinking about the message that you as a speaker have delivered long after the speech has concluded. The Chinese has a proverb which is very evocative. It talks about something has happened. It could be music, it could be some dream, but it lingers for days. So the Chinese like to use the number 3 So do not be mistaken when we say that, oh, it lingers for 3 days. Literally, when something lingers for 3 days, it means it lingers for a long, long time. Yeah. 料绕梁三日. That's that proverb, right? 绕梁三日. So when we say something lingers for 3 days, we actually mean something lingers for days, for a long time. So what can achieve the 绕梁三日? Lingers for days. It could be a speech that's so evocative that make people think about it. What could it be? It could be something about the environment, for example, sustainability. What are we going to offer our generation and generations after that? Not just our children, our children's children, and their children. So when this subject and the topic is so far-reaching and so deep, profound, we call it, we can't help but think about it further. And but in order to do justice to a topic like that, environment, sustainability, the Mother Earth, nature, we would like to deliver with the right technique. So you might end with a question. What would you do? I'm reminded of this Toastmaster club called Human Impact. They meet on Saturday morning, and I've attended a few of it. I clearly remember when I first attended the first of the meeting, I thought it was a small little place, but cozy anyway. And the people there, their eyes sparkle with their common concern about the environment and how to make every human effort sustainable. And I'm impressed by that because they're very focused on it. And I would think that all the speeches there being directed at sustainability, various forms of sustainability, could make use of personal stories, questions, and even emotions to drive home in the beginning, in the middle, and even in the end. So this session, I mean to share with you how questions could end a speech. Relatively speaking, it's more common to see people start a speech with a question. How many of you believe that it is impossible to become a great speaker in 3 days? So you challenge people to kind of respond to that. Think about it and respond to that. And in the middle of the speech, you can talk about, what do you think I should do next as a narrative? What would you have done is a narrative. It's a prompt people to think about in the body of the message, to be engaging nevertheless. But when we end, it's less common, nevertheless very useful. So on a parting shot, friends, how long would you wait before you come on the stage and address us? And on the questions, you can say thank you, or you can just shake the hand of the Toastmasters of the day, or the MC, or someone holding the fort next. Delivers an impact with a concluding question. Throw the ball to the audience and get them to respond. And now I would like you to respond. I'm going to be quiet for 20 seconds for you to respond with your questions, if any, so that I can help do something for you and with you. I want to thank the people who are now in that, our live stream and our Zoom. And I'm going to reward ourselves on a parting shot because it's going to end in about 5 minutes time. And I'm going to share with you some of the speeches. And if you are very interested, you could take some notes and trace them. So easy to trace these speeches. One of them is Robert F. Kennedy's address. The address was made on 1966. That's how many years ago? I wasn't even born then, 1966. It was delivered to the University of Cape Town. That speech ended with a question. The concluding question was, what kind of country do we want to be? What kind of country do we want to be? What kind of world do we want to build? What kind of world do we want to build? And that was the end. Now let's share some context of that particular speech. It was delivered during the apartheid in South Africa. Until that was the racial disharmony time. And this speech challenged the audience to confront injustice and to strive for a better future. So we can analyze this speech a little bit here. Two parts. questions. There are two questions on the conclusion, right? On the concluding questions, there are two questions. They broaden the scope for national identity, and they broaden the scope to global responsibility. Not just your country, but the entire world. It's open-ended. It invites reflection on personal values and collective action. So AITDA, the final A for action. The use of the word we, you notice, fosters a sense of shared purpose. So that was one speech. I may repeat that. You can search 1966, Robert F. Kennedy. Not John F. Kennedy, but Robert F. Kennedy, addressed to the University of Cape Town. Okay, the next speech that I can offer you, by way of concluding, this evening, is to offer you some speeches that we can use for reference. This second one I'm going to offer is by Mario Savio. Mario Savio, Bodies and Machines. Bodies and Machines, right? The mechanical machine. That speech was delivered on 1964. 1964. The concluding question was, is there any one of us who can say, I have done all I can? Is there any one of us who can say, I have done all I can? Throw this question to the audience and ended the speech. That was indeed a passionate speech. That speech was made during the free speech movement at UC Berkeley University, protesting the restrictions on the political activity. That was in the US. Yeah. Let's analyze it a little bit. This question, ending the speech, challenged just the audience sense of complacency. It's a call to action. It implies that there's always more that can be done to fight for what is right. You notice he used the personal pronoun us, us, to implicate everyone, involving everyone and making it difficult for anyone to avoid the challenge coming from the question. And I can go on. And I can go on. Goodness. Let me offer a bit more, as a way of ending this session. Another speech comes from Barbara Jordan. Barbara Jordan, 1976. At the Democratic National Convention, is a keynote address. It ended with a question. And the question was, are we to be one people bound together by a common purpose, sharing the fruits of the land? Or are we to be divided, a house against itself? Sounds like a rhetorical question, doesn't it? Give you the context. There was a speech making a powerful call for unity and inclusion. It was delivered at a time of social and political division. So you notice speeches are very important and they find a good time in time of upheavals. But you must be thinking then in peacetime, is it possible to have great speeches? I believe so. And I would challenge you to share with me. Better still, you deliver yours. Your 5 to 7 minutes, attempting to use stories, to use questions, or even to use emotions to start to build the middle and to end your speeches. Okay, let's analyze Barbara Jordan's speech. This speech that ended with a question, are we this or are we that, presents a stark choice. There's a choice between unity and division. Would you choose to be unified or do you choose to be divided? Who would openly choose being divided? Goodness. Evoke a sense of national identity and shared this destiny. So again, you notice it uses we, not just I, not just you, but we. I and you becomes we. Emphasizes the collective responsibility to choose the right path and do the right thing. All right. I'm now going into the fourth example. If you are taking notes, the next one is by Chief Joseph. Chief Joseph, the speech was delivered in 1877. That's far back. 1877. Wow. The title of the speech was, I will fight no more forever. I will fight no more forever. It ended with something that sounded like a question, not exactly, but let's listen to that. Hear me, my chiefs. I am tired of fighting. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever. Okay, so technically, it's not a question, but the sentiments sound like a question. Would you agree? The context is a surrender speech. It marks the end of the armed resistance by the Native American tribes against the US government. So that was that part of the US history. If you analyze it, you will find that it makes a very poignant statement, a statement that presents itself as the speaker is weary, is tired, desire peace, no more fighting, no more conflict. It serves as a lament and a powerful indictment of the violence inflicted upon Native Americans. The finality of the choice of the word forever underscores the tragedy of the situation. And I can go on. But I think I would choose to just say this. The effectiveness of all these endings of a speech ending with questions, all these point towards an ability to leave a lasting impression. They want to prompt the audience to continue to think about the speaker's message long after the speech has concluded. So let's therefore conclude that the clever use of questions to end a speech works very well in making people think. See, when you end a speech on a question, you're not giving it a full stop, you're giving a question mark. You make people, you invite you even demand them to think about it. So it lingers for days. 绕梁三日. It lingers for days. Such is the powerful speech that creates very strong communication, powerful communications, and very impeccable leadership. That's why we say when we speak well, we are able to communicate more forcefully and we're able to lead people more purposefully. They're all linked. It all starts with being able to speak well. And speak well here requires us to express ourselves effectively. If you have attended the first 3 sessions of my Zoom, all half an hour, you will recall that I have attempted to share with you how questions could help us start a speech, develop a speech, and end a speech. And what I've just done here now is in a 3 parts, starting with using questions, to start a speech, develop a speech, and end a speech. So it had been like this. The first 3 sessions, I talk about personal stories, start, develop, end a speech. I've just completed the second round, which is using questions now to start, develop, and end a speech. So after today, when we meet again in here, it shall be 10:30 p.m. this coming Wednesday, 3 days from now. And I shall start on the 3rd technique, and that will be using emotions. What kind of emotions? I mean, you think about that. Using emotional appeal to start, to develop, and also to end a speech. Hopefully by then you will have 3 techniques to choose from and apply them on 3 parts of a speech, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And with that, I hope I would have done something to help you, on the one hand, remove the obstacles, the fears, and the concerns about developing your speech. And on the other hand, have some tools, some handles you can grasp to go ahead and practice. At the end of the day, all speeches is about practice, practice, and practice. You might have seen that on stage, an MC will deliver so powerfully the message and make everything clicks. They all comes with a lot of practice. So again, a Chinese proverb to end this evening, it will be 台上1分钟，台下10年功. I will say that again. 台上1分钟，台下10年功. It sounds exaggerating, but the truth is not really that far from it. That every minute we face the audience to deliver a speech that makes sense will require us to have practice, practice, practice off stage, behind the scenes, away from the audience. For every 1 minute facing the audience could have had been backed by 10 years, meaning many years of practice just for the 1 minute. Well, don't worry too much and don't calculate too much and do this, throw your hands in despair in the air and say that you can do it. Because if that is the math, it would mean that to deliver a 5 to 7 minute speech, you need to devote 50 to 70 years. That's about the entire life. Not really that, but I hope you get the gist that we need lots of preparation, rehearsal, and practice. Possibly a lot of falling down, failures, disappointments, a lot of despair, and even giving up only to pick it up. And so long as we stand up one time more than every time we fall, it will suffice. We will get closer to where we want to be, which is in front of the audience, being confident, being impactful, and being purposeful. And you will help people discover a better version of themselves. And you will achieve this beautifully. Yeah. Not without making yourself a better version of yourself too, in the first place. So with that, I'm Terry. I want to thank you for you being here at the Zoom session. I shall end this and share with you in a short while. I'll see you next time around.